you crave exciting sports takes and news? Fed up with the same old boring voices you hear on the radio? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you just might be a TBloomaholic. Lucky for you, it's time for another episode of the TBloom Talk Show, the #1 sports podcast in the world. Settle in, my TBloomanites, because another episode starts right now. Live from TBloom headquarters, here's your host, TBloom.
All right, nation, what is going on, TBloom Nation? It has been a long time since I've seen you guys. I mean, what was it? It wasn't last Friday, but the last Friday after that, it's been 2 weeks. It's felt like 2 months. How have you guys been? I mean, after Thanksgiving and all the hoopla that comes with that, I had a good Thanksgiving myself. I'm still eating leftovers to this day. Had a couple days where after Thanksgiving, we had like a Friendsgiving and stuff like that. We pretty much had a good holiday. Glad to be back on the show, though. I'm here. You know what time it is. It's Friday. I'm here to give you all the picks, news, stats, whatever you want to call it, for this upcoming weekend of football. Week 13 of the NFL season is upon us. Or is it I think it's week 14. It's week 14 of the NFL season is upon us. And man, this might be the best slate of games throughout this whole season, at least from what I can remember. There's so many games in here that are, not only interesting matchups, but a lot of these teams need wins that are good. A lot of teams are playing against other teams where they both need wins. They both need wins to either stay alive, stay first in the division, keep momentum going, whatever you want to say. It's just a good week for football, and I'll be honest with you guys, yesterday, I wasn't even sure if this podcast was going to roll out. I've been sick all day yesterday. I got some sort of cold, achy body. I'm in 3 blankets, but I'm still chilly. You know what the kind of sickness I'm talking about? If you've ever had it, it's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. I wasn't sure if this was even going to go down today. Thankfully, I woke up today feeling 10 times better, and I'm here to give you guys, my TBloomanites, some good old-fashioned content. So let's get right into it. We got the New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings. This could very well be the game of the week. Right now, the New York Jets sit at 7-4. The Minnesota Vikings sit at 9-2. Now, we know last week, what's his name? It's so funny. I know all these teams, these players' names and stuff like that, but as soon as I get on camera, I don't know what happens. It all goes out the window. Freaking the quarterback for the fucking New York Jets. God damn it, this is going to piss me off. They bring in Mike White last week to replace this fucking guy. Is it Zach Jones? It's Zach Jones, isn't it? No, it's Zach Wilson. What the fuck is wrong with me? They bring in Mike White to come in and, do what fucking Zach Wilson couldn't do, which is lead a fucking offense. And they did that. They got the win, and Mike White seems like the quarterback going forward for the New York Jets to pair up with that solid defense. And on the other side of the ball, you got the Minnesota Vikings, who are just seem to be rolling and rolling and rolling. I mean, these guys, I don't know if it's the fact that they're the Vikings, but for some reason, I just don't think they're as good of a 9-2 team as we've seen in past years. And maybe that's just me hating, but I don't know, man. But this has all the makings of a good game. I mean, on one side of the ball, you got Sauce Gardner, the rookie, going up against Justin Jefferson. We know what he can do. He's probably off to the best start of any receiver ever. And that's going to be an exciting matchup. But in terms of who's going to win, well, it's in Minnesota. Minnesota's offense, they can put up fucking points against any defense. So I'm going to roll with the Minnesota Vikings here. I think the Jets, hey, all respect to the Jets for this year. I mean, what they've done with this team, no one thought they'd be sitting at 7-4 at this point in the season. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to them, what they've done. I don't think they're going to really be able to manage and keep up with, this level of success going forward. I'm going to roll with the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're just a more complete football team, and that's just that. Next game, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Detroit Lions. Now, this is interesting because both these teams rarely ever play each other, and both these teams haven't had the most success over the years since they've been in the league. I mean, the Lions, you know what they come with. They have a ton of seasons with losing records, and the Jaguars as well. So it's always interesting to see what happens when they do meet up. This season, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, he's not having a bad year by any means, but his success in the stat book hasn't really translated to the overall record of the team. And yeah, I mean, they're still a young team, and we know what they are. But, on the other hand, you got the Detroit Lions with Jared Goff. They have one of the most high-powered offenses in the league. They had a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving. Really wanted that to happen. Over almost hit. It didn't, though. That's fine. But, yeah, I'm going to roll with Detroit on this one. I mean, look for this over to hit. The over is 51.5 points. Both these teams can light up the scoreboard, especially Detroit and Detroit. I mean, anybody who goes against Detroit can light up the scoreboard. They have one of the worst defenses ever. But we're going to roll with Detroit on this one. And yeah, next game, we're going to do the Denver Broncos versus the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be an interesting one. Not really. I mean, Denver, they suck. Russell Wilson, I mean, it's hard to think of another player who got paid like he did and come in and play as bad as he has this season. And the drop-off that he went from. I mean, you think about Russell Wilson in Seattle, guy you could argue is top 5 QB in the league. It'd be hard to argue he wasn't. Then he comes into Denver and shit hits the fan. Maybe it's the elevation over there in Denver. I don't know. But, man, it is just a sad time to be a Denver Bronco fan. And on the other side, you got the Baltimore Ravens. They love to keep games close, so look for this game to be close. Denver Broncos defense is for real, so yeah, I have to roll with Baltimore because Denver they haven't shown shit. They really haven't, and especially with Russell Wilson leading the helm, there's reports coming out that he's lost half the locker room. Apparently, Sierra threw him a birthday. Only half the team showed up, which if you think about it, that's a lot of fucking players. Because I mean, 53-man roster divided by 2, that's about 25 people. 27 people coming from your team that are there. So it's not like nobody showed up from the team. So hopefully he had a good birthday, right? Who knows? But yeah, we're gonna roll with Baltimore in this one. I can't see nothing happening with Denver. Next one, the Cleveland Browns versus the Houston Texans. Man, this is a stank of a game. There's an interesting point of this game. You got Deshaun Watson in his first game back going against his former team, Houston Texans. And apparently 10 of his victims of that massage allegations or whatever for Deshaun Watson will be in attendance at the game. Now, I don't understand like the psychology behind that. I don't know why you'd want to go out to a game where the person that you accused of, I don't know if they accused him of rape or whatever. I don't want to get into all that, but his accusers are coming to watch his game. I don't get the level of psychology on that. Is it to show that, hey, you can't forget about us just because you're playing? We still matter. Maybe that's their thing. I don't know if that's the best way of showing that. I mean, you're kind of putting money in his pockets by buying a ticket to the game and supporting that. So, yeah, I don't understand that at all. But nonetheless, it's going to be exciting. I'm going to roll with the Houston Texans on this one. I think Deshaun Watson's going to struggle. I don't know if you guys remember, but in the preseason, we had a couple excuse me. We had a couple looks at him in the preseason, and he didn't do well at all. I mean, I don't know how much or how good you can really be after taking so much time off football that he has. They sit at 4-7. They have a chance to make the playoffs for sure. They have to win out. But I can see the Houston Texans, and they're overdue for a win. They're 1-9-1, and they're not playing the best football, but they don't have the best roster, but they still can go out and compete. So I'm going to roll with the Houston Texans on this one, specifically because I think Deshaun Watson is going to really struggle. It's going to be a lot for him to take in. It's going to be hard for him to even, I don't know. It's going to be hard for him to play at the level of play that he was used to playing at after taking so much time off of football with a new team. And then you got the allegations behind you. There's just a lot going on in that guy's mind right now, you got to think. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to push past through it and make it a game. So We're going to roll with the Texans, and I don't think I've ever picked the Texans to win any game. So there you go. Next game, Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. Now, we know over the past, Green Bay has absolutely dominated Chicago over the Aaron Rodgers era. No telling if Aaron Rodgers will be playing this week, as he does have that rib injury. Reports do say that he is trying to make a return this Sunday. But if I'm the Packers, dude, I'm rolling with Jordan Love. Your fucking playoff hopes are done. You're not going to make the playoffs. You might as well see what you got in Jordan Love now, establish some momentum going into the offseason, because you know there's no way Aaron Rodgers comes back next season, right? I mean, am I crazy? But what would you be able to do to not only persuade Aaron Rodgers that he should come back, but what else would you do to persuade you as a Packer, say you're the GM of the Packers, what does he have to do to persuade him that he's even worth bringing back? I mean, you got to see what Jordan Love is. It's been 3 years. He's been riding the bench. You waste a first-round pick on him. Well, who knows if you wasted it, but you got to find out whether you wasted it. Right? You got to know. You got to have that answered by the end of either the end of this season or at least going into next season. You need to begin to answer those questions. So, yeah, I mean, and then on the other hand, you got Chicago. I don't think Justin Fields is playing. I think he might be questionable. This is kind of a shitty game. Green Bay or Chicago? Give me Green Bay on the road. You know what? No, give me Chicago. Chicago's just had so many fucking bad games against Green Bay and so much heartbreak going up against them every single year and losing. They haven't beat them since 2019. I think Chicago fans are going to be fired up. If Justin Fields plays, then I'm definitely going Chicago, but we're going to go with Chicago regardless. Yeah, Green Bay's just in shambles right now. They need. It's tough. It's tough how you go from one of the best teams in the league last year to now the worst team, one of the worst teams in the NFC this year. It's a tough fall off the hill, but we're gonna roll Chicago. I'm gonna pick a lot of underdogs, I think, this week. Yeah. Next game, the Seahawks versus the Los Angeles Rams. Speaking of huge fall-offs, the Los Angeles Rams, at this point, they still are the Super Bowl champions. Until a new king is crowned, the king is still wearing the crown, if that makes sense. That might sound stupid, but it sounded good in my head. Yeah, the Los Angeles Rams, they're still the Super Bowl champions until further notice, right? But now they're sitting at 3-8, almost no shot to make the playoffs. Is Matthew Stafford even, is he injured still, or what's going on with this guy? Let me look this up, because I mean, the Los Angeles Rams, they started off the season with injuries at their line. Then they just kept getting worse with Cooper Kupp going out. Then you got the offensive line, or not the offensive line. Then you got Matthew Stafford having a little bit of injury problems. And then on the other side of the ball, you got the Seattle Seahawks, who no one thought they would be anything for good reason. Geno Smith's playing out of his fucking mind, which is just completely unbelievable. Let's see. I don't see Stafford on the injury report, so we're going to assume he plays. This is also interesting because Bobby Wagner, this is his first time going against the Seattle Seahawks since he became a Ram. I mean, and who would have thought that? I guarantee you he is pissed off right now because he thought he was going to the elite of the elite. He was going to go. He's going to get his Super Bowl shot, again with the Rams. They got that stacked defense, and then all of a sudden, anything that could have went wrong for the Rams this year went wrong. And they sit at 3-8. You got the Seattle Seahawks 6-5. Now this is what's interesting. Oh, never mind. The 7.5 spread. Yeah, I can see it. But you know what? The Seahawks, they're 6-5, but I think they're more of a 6-6 team. I don't see them being a 7-5 team. You know what I mean? I see them being a more 6-6 team. And then the Rams, for them to go 3-9, that's tough. I'm going to roll with the Rams on this one. Another underdog. I'm going to roll with the Rams for sure. I think they take care of business here. I think Seattle, they're on a little bit of a down streak. I think that's going to continue a little bit. If they don't lose to the Rams, it will be close, I believe. Yeah, I mean, not much else to talk about this game other than welcome back, Bobby Wagner. Let's see what you can do against your former team. All right, next game, which is quite possibly the game of the week, you got the Niners versus the Miami Dolphins. This one's going to be electric. The Niners defense is playing pretty fucking good right now, and they're going against the Miami Dolphins, whose offense is pretty fucking good as well. Not to mention they got Mike McDaniels on the other side of the ball for the Dolphins. His first game against the Niners, the team that he spent a lot of time with, was part of those successful 49ers teams we've seen in the last 3 or so years. This is a tough one. I mean, the Niners playing out of their mind. They have a solid offense. Their defense is even more solid. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing steady. If Jimmy G can play steady this game and not have a meltdown, I don't see any reason why the Niners shouldn't be able to win this game. I mean, the Dolphins, they're good, yeah, but there's still questions surrounding that team, especially on the defense side of the ball. If the Niners can contain the Dolphins' offense to about, let's say, 20 points, I think they get the job done. I think the Niners will score at least 25 points, and if they can hold the Dolphins to 20 points, then so be it. So we're going to roll with the Niners on this one. Mike McDaniel, maybe his knowledge of what the Niners system is will come into play. Maybe we see, some plays being called out before they're ran, right? Or maybe we see on the other side, what's his name? God, why am I forgetting all these goddamn names? Who's the head coach of the fucking Niners? This is going to piss me off because it's so easy. Kyle fucking Shanahan. God damn it, TBloom. It's my fault. I'm having a bad fucking day. Yeah, we got Mike McDaniels versus Kyle Shanahan. Mike McDaniels knows the system in the 49er land, but also Kyle Shanahan knows Mike McDaniels' mind. He's worked with him for fucking ever. So we're going to see a battle of two coaches that know each other. It's almost reminiscent of Kyle Shanahan versus Sean McVay over there in the Rams. So we'll see. Next game, going San Francisco. Next game, Los Angeles Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to tell you straight up right now, the Los Angeles Chargers need to win this game, so I think they will win this game to push them to 7-5. This is just another year with the Chargers not living up to the high expectations that they had in the preseason. Sitting at 6-5, they should be at least 7-4 right now. I mean, I'm just going to say it. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, they might be the most disappointing team in the league right now. They are 4-7. They still have a shot to make the playoffs. But what they did in the offseason, bringing in Devontae Adams, recouping them with Derek Carr, bringing in Josh McDaniels, the fucking offensive guru, or I don't even think he's an offensive guru. I think he's just what works well in New England because he can't head coach to save his life, it seems. Didn't do it in Denver, and he's not doing well right now in Las Vegas. We're going to roll with the Los Angeles Chargers, and that's all I got to say about that. Next game. My favorite game of the week. You know what time it is. Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Those of you who watched Monday Night Football last week watched the greatness of Kenny Pickett putting on a performance, his best performance to date. This kid's for real, folks. Both teams need to win to stay alive. This pretty much comes down to which is going to break. The Pittsburgh Steelers run defense or the Atlanta Falcons run offense. Now, Atlanta's sitting at 5-7. They came in this year with absolutely probably the lowest expectations out of any team in the league. No one thought they were going to be good, and for what reason would they? But 5-7, I think that's a winning season for them to sit there right next to 500. Yeah, Atlanta Falcons. I mean, what else can you say about them? I mean, here's a stat: the last time Pittsburgh lost in Atlanta was in 2006. When Michael Vick was the QB. Atlanta's 1 point fame. The last time Pittsburgh lost in Atlanta was against Michael Vick in 2006. That was a hell of a game. I remember watching that back in the day. But I think, what was I? I was like 9 years old. That game pissed me off. But yeah, the last time we've lost in Atlanta, Michael Vick was the quarterback. So it's been a while. Atlanta, they're 1.5 games out of first place in their division. Their division is absolute trash. Tampa Bay's leading it, but they don't look much like leaders at all. I mean, it's not looking good for the NFC South team. So Atlanta still has a lot to play for. Pittsburgh too, because they can still make the playoffs, baby. And we will make the playoffs. Here we go. Other news, Atlanta, Kyle Pitts is officially out for the year with an injury. That sucks. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're hitting a stretch against a bunch of winnable opponents. They have the third hardest schedule in the league this year, but it's coming to the part of the schedule where, we were coming up with some winnable games. We got the Falcons this week, then we got the Ravens. We always play the Ravens well, especially Lamar Jackson really struggles against our defense, has since he's took over the job for the Baltimore Ravens. Then we got the Panthers, winnable, the Raiders, winnable. And if we go on a 4-game win streak, that'll put us at 8-7 in prime playoff contention to make a prime playoff push. And you don't want to see Kenny Pickett in the playoffs. You don't want to see this defense in the playoffs. This defense is a game wrecker. I mean, you got TJ Watt on one hand who can just destroy a game, and then you got Cameron Hayward, you got Minka, and we got a very opportunistic secondary. We do give up a lot of big plays. And a lot of plays that shouldn't. I mean, we're putting out fucking second string and third string corners out there to try and, stop number ones. It doesn't always work out, but we are a very opportunistic defense. And if with this offense can come out and play like it did against Indy on Monday night, this is going to be a little bit of we're going to be a trap team for a lot of teams in the playoffs. So this all comes down to how Kenny Pickett fare. If you look at over the last 3 games, Pittsburgh has the 4th most rushing yards in the league, which I know doesn't say much, but it's showing that our offense is developing and growing and getting better as the weeks go on. I'm going to roll with Pittsburgh, baby. You already know I'm not going for Atlanta. Pittsburgh Steelers by 10. Next game, Tennessee Titans versus the Philadelphia Eagles. You got the number 3 rushing team in Philadelphia versus the number 3 rushing defense in Tennessee. A lot like what I just described Pittsburgh versus Atlanta being, this game's going to come down to which one's going to do better. Philadelphia's rushing offense or Tennessee's rushing defense. Who knows? Fun fact, last time Philly beat Tennessee was in 2014. It's a while ago. It's interesting because Philly's 10-1 and the Tennessee Titans are 7-4. However, Philly's only 2 games ahead in their division, and Tennessee's 3 games ahead in their division. Funny how that works out. The NFC East, quite possibly for the last 4 years, was probably one of the worst divisions in the league. Now they're probably one of the best division in the league. I mean, to be 10-1 and only 2 games ahead in your division, that's not very comfortable feeling. They can very easily blow this game against Tennessee, and then they got a bunch of division games coming up towards the end of their schedule. We could see Philly here fighting for a playoff spot at the end of the season. I'm not saying they will, but it could very well happen. Jalen Hurts has to be able to pass in this game. Tennessee, I think, is going to stop the run as much as they can. They're going to sell out for the run. They're going to make Jalen Hurts pass. That's how you beat him. You don't want him to run. You don't want him to get the running game going and all that shit, because then the passing game really opens up. But I think they're going to make Jalen Hurts pass the ball. I'm going to go with Tennessee on this one. I like Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's a good coach. I think he's top 5 in the league. I would love to have Mike Vrabel on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, we're going to roll Tennessee on this one. Next game, you got the Washington Commanders versus the New York Giants. This is fucking interesting. You got Taylor Heineke, who I don't think has lost since he's took over that job. I think he's lost 1 time. He has 1 loss since he took over the job against Carson Wentz, and exciting guy. The guy's just won over the locker room, obviously. And then on the other hand, you got the You got the New York Giants, who started off the season hotter than any team in the league, or as hot as any team in the league, and then sort of is kind of running into a slump as the weeks go on. Their record is starting to more reflect their roster. Daniel Jones, we know what he is. I'm going to roll with the Washington Commanders. I think the Washington Commanders, man, their defense is so fucking good. And you got that guy Heineke at QB who just can do anything, I mean, not anything, but the guy's a baller. He's going to play his heart out, and he's going to fucking fight every single second in this game to get the job done. That's why we're going with Washington. And I'm just not too sold on the New York Giants. I mean, how could you be? How could you be sold on Daniel Jones and the New York Giants? Next game, Kansas City Chiefs versus Cincinnati Bengals. This is the other game that I thought might be the game of the week. If you think about the last time these two played was in the playoffs last year. Cincinnati went on to beat Kansas City, go to the Super Bowl, shock the nation. So you got to be thinking Kansas City is a little bit in revenge mode for this game. And it's in Cincinnati, so it's going to be a hostile environment for Kansas City. But I think Kansas City's remembering what they fucking did, what Cincinnati did to them last year, took away their Super Bowl hopes. But man, Cincinnati can score with the best of them. This is going to be a shootout, no doubt. This is a tough one. It's so hard to go against Kansas City because of Patrick Mahomes and what that level of success they have had over the years. But Cincinnati's playing good. I mean, this team can put up points with anybody, and they showed it last year in the playoffs. I'm going to have to go Kansas City. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I have to go Kansas City. They're just more complete to me. They're more consistent. Joe Burrow, yes, he's good. He's a young talent. But he's just not as consistent as Patrick Mahomes yet. And that's going to come with time, right? That's not going to be an overnight thing that just happens. It's a process. I'm going to go with the more consistent team right now, which is Kansas City. They're -2.5 point favorites. If there's any time to take Kansas City on the spread, it's this week. I mean, not often do you get to have Kansas City at -2.5 in a game. So I'm taking them. I'm also going to take that spread too. We're going to roll with the Kansas City Chiefs. Next game, Indianapolis Colts versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, one fun fact about this game, the last time Indianapolis... the last time Indianapolis beat Dallas in Dallas, 1996. 1996. Do you know what the number one Billboard song during that time was? The number one Billboard song. The number one Billboard song in 1996. The fucking Macarena. Guess who the QB was for Dallas? Troy Aikman. Guess who running back was? Emmitt Smith. I mean, this is like 2 eras ago. That's the last time Indy has beat Dallas in Dallas. I'm going to roll with the Dallas Cowboys here. They're just a more complete team. Indy, Indy, no. I mean, no. Jeff Saturday, I love it. Trust me, I love the hype train. But I just think Dallas just has it on this one. There's an 11-point spread on this one. I don't think it's going to be that big of a fucking difference. I think it'll be a closer game than 11 points, but I just see Dallas winning it. I do. I just see Dallas winning it. There's a reason why Indy hasn't beat Dallas in Dallas since 1996. So we're going to roll with the Dallas Cowboys. And the last but not least final game, the New Orleans Saints versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the shittiest game of the week, no doubt in my mind. I'm pretty sure it's Monday Night Football. God, that's so trash. I'm going to go with the Bucs, I guess, because Tom Brady. But both these teams suck. I'm going to roll with the Bucs. Tom Brady's going to beat the New Orleans Saints. Not much to talk about there. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the TBloom Talk Show. Thank you guys for being a part of this. I know it's been a long time. I know you're not used to having this big of a layoff from TBloom. Trust me, I know it sucks. It was definitely a shorter podcast this week. However, because of the delay and the, missing a week off due to Thanksgiving and stuff like that, I will be back next Tuesday with the full-on recap of what goes down this week in the NFL. So without further ado, remember, give me a subscription, give me a like, give me a comment. You can find all my stuff on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. I'll put the links in over there. And thanks for watching, guys. TBloom Nation, have a good one. Stay blessed, stay safe, and most importantly, stay healthy. Love you guys. Tuning out. TBloom. Sayonara.